Another Irish story. Chapter 1. Message in the Bottle. Liam Murdoch gripped the bottle like it was the last solid thing in the world. The fishing boat pitched violently beneath him, the Irish sea slapping its hull with cold fury. Mist swallowed the horizon. The world tilted. His thoughts blurred. "Goodbye, Scotland," he muttered. "Goodbye, everything." He drained the bottle, stood to throw it into the ocean, a farewell to Glasgow, to his badge, to his wife's ghost. A wave slammed the boat. His boots slipped. The bottle flew from his hand, and so did he. Liam crashed backward into the bench, his head cracking against the wood. The world folded in on itself. Everything went black. He woke on cold basalt. The black hexagonal stones of the giant's causeway pressed into his back. Salt stung his lips. Gulls screamed overhead. His coat was soaked, and his memory was a shattered mirror. He staggered upright, dizzy and disoriented. Footprints led inland, small, bare, running. Beside them were drag marks. Something heavy had been pulled across the grass. He followed the trail to a ruined chapel, stone walls cracked, the roof sagging, the door hanging crooked. Inside, the smell hit him, earth, damp and rot. The floor was freshly repaired with new stones and new mortar. He kneeled and touched the stone. It shifted. He pried it up. Underneath was a hand, fresh, pale, fingers curled as if clawing for air. He pulled up another stone. A face stared back with open eyes, its mouth filled with dirt. Buried alive, Liam staggered back, heart pounding. A voice behind him broke the silence. "You shouldn't be here." He turned. A woman stood in the doorway, her cloak soaked, hair braided tight, eyes sharp enough to cut glass. She stepped closer. "My name is Maeve Byrne," she said. "Private investigator." Liam exhaled in relief. "Thank God. I thought—" She swung something heavy. It smashed into his skull. Everything went black. Chapter 2. A Ride to Dublin. He woke to the creak of wheels. Cold hay beneath him, ropes around his wrists, the slow rhythm of a horse pulling a wagon through the night. Maeve sat beside him, arms crossed, her eyes fixed on the road. "You're awake," she said. Liam groaned. Where are we? On the road to Dublin," he blinked. "Why?" "You need help," she said. "And I need answers." He swallowed hard. "My wife, she's missing." Maeve nodded. "My father too." He sat up slowly. "We help each other. That's the deal." 3 nights passed in a blur of fog, cold, and silence. He drifted in and out of consciousness. She never explained the blow to his head, and he never questioned it. When the wagon finally stopped, they were in Dublin. Maeve led him through alleys and narrow streets to a ruined church. Some stones had been repaired here, too, the work sloppy and rushed. Inside, the air was cold and stale. Liam touched the wall. A stone shifted. Maeve helped him pry it loose. Behind it was a dead body. He stared at it, horrified. We need to bury them." Maeve nodded. "Help me drag it. Help me drag it." They pulled the corpse from the wall, dragged it across the floor, out the door, and toward the wagon. The body was heavy, the drag marks deep. Liam froze. He had seen these marks before, on the causeway. His breath caught. "Maeve, I think I—" She hit him, hard. The world shattered. Chapter 3. The Ferryman. Liam woke to cold stone pressing against his cheek. The ruined church was silent except for the faint drip of water somewhere behind the altar. His head throbbed. His vision swam. The world felt wrong, tilted, stretched, too bright at the edges. Maeve stood over him, her shadow long against the cracked stone. Her voice had changed. No warmth, no neutrality, no mask. "Liam," she said quietly, "your mind was drowning in whiskey." He blinked, confused. "What? Drowning?" "You were drunk," she said. "Drunk enough to forget your own hands. Drunk enough to forget the blood. Drunk enough to build yourself a story instead of facing what you did." She stepped closer, her boots scraping against the stone. "You didn't sail from Scotland to Ireland." "No." "But instead, you tried to flee there and get away from what you did. You collapsed on the shore before you ever reached a boat." Liam's breath caught. "No, You were stumbling, raving, half dead from whiskey and guilt. You saw drag marks because you dragged her. You saw footprints because you chased her. You saw a private eye because you needed one." Her voice hardened. "You didn't meet me on the shore. You imagined me. You imagined a helper, a guide, a savior." She leaned down, her face inches from his. "You hallucinated a detective because you couldn't bear to see a witness." Liam's throat tightened. Maeve, please, you killed your wife in cold blood, you monster. He shook his head violently. No, no, I didn't. You always say that. Men like you always say that. She lifted the heavy thurible in her hand, the same weight he remembered from the first blow. You don't need a private eye. You need a ferryman to hell. She swung. The blow was final. Then it was over. Maeve dragged Liam's limp body across the wet grass, his boots leaving crooked lines in the soil. The night was heavy with fog, rolling in slow white waves from the sea. Every few steps, the chains of the thurible at her belt clinked softly like a metallic heartbeat down the slope toward the shore. The small fishing boat waited where the tide licked the sand, its hull dark and slick with mist. Maeve gripped Liam under the arms and heaved him into the boat. His head thudded against the wooden bench. He didn't move. She stood there for a moment, breathing hard, the moonlight cutting her face into silver and shadow. The fog swallowed the horizon, turning sea and sky into one endless void. Maeve placed her hand on the bow. You wanted Scotland, she said softly. You begged the sea to take you there. She pushed the boat. The hull scraped against the stones. The water rose to meet it. But Scotland doesn't need monsters. She gave one final shove. The boat drifted off course, further into the fog. The sea pulled it farther and farther until the shape blurred into a ghostly smear of moonlit wood. The fog thickened. The boat dissolved into darkness. Maeve Byrne turned away from the shore, leaving his soul to the ferryman.